Happy Christmas Eve. I guess sometime over this break, we're going to find out if Jeff Brohm gets a lump of coal from the city of Louisville. What's cooking? Welcome back in to another edition of, I guess it's ESPN Louisville Plus. This edition of BROHM WATCH 2025. I feel like we've done enough talking about coaches here on the channel. Will they go? Will they stay? Will we kick them out at this point? It's hopefully, please don't leave us. Don't leave us, Jeff Brohm. We need you this holiday season. But Louisville fans around the Commonwealth, the city of Louisville, the Metro Louisville area, are a little worried right now about seeing if Jeff Brohm will leave or stay or what will happen there. But welcome in. I'm Justin Soforo. He's Phil Baker. And how you doing, sir? Welcome into, I guess, this edition of Christmas Eve coverage.
Look, I appreciate it. There's rapping happening in the basement as we speak. The littles are hopefully asleep right now. So if it sounds like I'm whispering, I'm not trying to wake them up. I'm trying to talk into my fancy mic right now. But nonetheless, everyone's doing good. The Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of Beans Bowl, I guess, was a success. You got the guys from Key and Peele there. So Jeff Brohm got another Howard Schnellenberger trophy, but I know a lot of people. It's unfortunate because the preview of the depth chart and everything that comes with Toledo and Louisville heading into this game, it was all around the coaching stuff. But everything's good. I do this to myself every year. The Nikki V and me comes out, and I try to do all the last minute shopping the day before, and it's a madhouse. And I try to do it on Amazon, and it just sometimes it's here, sometimes it's not. I'm getting random packages. It's like, okay. You may be getting your Christmas present on the 27th, not the 25th, which is an L by me. But nonetheless, everybody's doing good. Everyone's I've been getting still frames of, no context college football. Dan Dockich tweets about Jeff Brohm. It's been a successful day, I would have to say.
I'm as bad as you, or probably worse. This year's the worst year that I've had in a long time. Now, I'm going to use the excuse I've worked 3 different jobs. I got 3 kids, all this stuff, but the only person that I've even shopped for was my wife, and I just wrapped it up today. And today I'm going to get it wrapped after we're done filming this, and then she'll actually have something under the tree. I feel bad because everybody else has stuff, just not her. She hasn't been taken care of. And, you kind of look at it and she's, a little side eyeing me of like, what's going on? I've birthed you 3 children.
You have a child. Shout out to Billy Zane and Titanic. But it's crazy because I'm running into this. It's like, you got 3, I got 2. It's more so about like the experiences for like the kids now, because I'm like, you all have so much stuff, and like I literally there's like nowhere else to put it, and now I'm like regifting. For the smaller one, I'm like, hey, the older one doesn't do this. Let's just regift that. And I don't think she'll know or care. And hopefully she doesn't have issues as she gets older with that. But I'm right there with you. And now it's tough getting some stuff for the significant other. But look, it's you got a MAC opponent in this game. It had all the tentacles. I don't know how many people there. I know Diener and Creighton were there. So blessed.
That stadium was so damn empty. It was so empty. Like, so, I could, go ahead.
So Creighton was mapping out how he was going to go down there, taking Spirit Airlines, and I've done a trip to Vegas before with Spirit, and I was like, it's the most like bougie thing you'll see me do. I'm like, I'm paying for the exit row seats and like the emergency, because you're and I'm a small guy, but like you're in there. And I was like, Creighton, I was like, I'll buy it for you right there. And then it came down to like me getting to checkout. I was like, that's not what I paid for when I had to do it. You're on your own.
Oh, is it that? Is it how much more now?
It's a little bit more now. I don't know. But nonetheless, Creighton's not a small individual. I thought when there was that little tussle on the sidelines, I was like, Creighton, get on the sidelines. That poor. I want an update on the guy in the crutches who was just chilling in the fold-out chair and got taken out. I was like, what happened? He's just sitting there, and then Isaac Brown gets the face mask and gets rolled up for the Toledo players, and I'm like, what happened to that guy?
Sherman he earned every bit of that ass whooping that he received. Like, unfortunately, it didn't look like he got beat up quite nearly enough. Because like after watching it, yeah, you go 9 yards out of like off the playing field, and then you continue to drive him down. And then at that point, everybody should go out there. You go out there against Isaac Brown, a guy who has had injury issues, and now like at this point, that's the same thing with basketball. We had a few of those teams. I can't remember who was early in the year, but just these hard fouls. It's like why I don't like playing these kind of like. No offense. I'm trying to do like the peasants. I'm looking down and then we don't need to play you because you're going to see an opportunity. There's nothing that we gain from this. Nothing. Well, like I don't care about the Howard Schnell. I mean, it's fine. We got another Howard Schnellberger trophy. It's fine. He can lie to us and tell us that we're on a collision course. We can continue to tell ourselves that. We'll see. We'll see if we remain on that collision course too.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I was right there with you, and knowing how the minutiae kind of works with like the ESPN events, it's a television product. That's all these bowl games. If it's an ESPN events, it's an extra television component for them to have more inventory. But yeah, I mean, like I didn't know how to go into, some people, there's podcasts out there that I'm sure do wonderful jobs of talking about the depth chart and Miller Moss. Can he finish on a positive note? And then it just comes down to it's like the Brohm stuff. Yet again. And that's what I feel like the majority of the things were dominated by. And I know we only did like 45 minutes on the Take with Andy's show earlier with Nikki V. And I thought Rummage was great on Maven, and he kind of broke down what he was hearing, some of the things. But it's wild to me because we have the clip because I think it's important. And let me know when you have that ready if you want to pull it up. But Ken Taylor tweeted it out. And I guess I want to say it was Alexis from the CJ was down there, or maybe WDRB, their new reporter Haley down there. I think forgive me if I get her name wrong on that, but they asked about being linked to the job and if there was any sort, if he, Jeff Brohm, or his representation had any discussions with them. So if you want to play that, Soforo, you can play that, and then we can let some of the folks hear it. I'm sure it'll kind of circulate. It's on our social channels as well.
Yeah, it's really short, just 6 seconds, but he kind of, it's the Jeff Brohm way of speaking, right? So let me go ahead and play that now.
Well, I don't speak on other jobs. I'm happy with this one and happy about the victory, and we're going to enjoy that.
That's it. That's all he had to give us.
And it's interesting to me because, like, Jeff Brohm, like, you got the Pete Thamel tweets and all the, football Freddies and, Brandon Marsalo and CBS Sports and all these folks are putting these things out there that he's committed and they're working toward it. Does the timeline to you, because it's like, I'm torn on this. It's like, does he have to come out every time his name is mentioned for a job and say, I'm not interested? Or is this something where it's like his representation's not putting out the fire and stomping it out to where it's like, hey, he's not interested. So I'm kind of torn. It's like, you got to say it every time, but I think there's enough smoke where it's like his name's being linked to it to where they at least are trying to get something from this.
Yeah, there's a couple ways to look at this. My personal issue is, I'm sorry, you do. I think you do have to do it because while there is the first family of Louisville thing, there is your Brohm. Like you love the city, you love the team, you love all that. That's fine. We are a damaged product. Like the fan base, we're damaged. We've been hurt. We have experienced time and time again multiple, coaches leaving, coaches trying to get out the door, coaches that we didn't even want that were trying to leave us multiple times. Scott Satterfield.
Look, I've said multiple times. He that was the thing that Scott Satterfield could never do. He wasn't Jeff Brohm because he addressed all the Jeff Brohm check at the time, and who knows? And I'm fascinated too. Another follow up to that. I'm curious because he addressed all the complexes that Louisville fans have had and insecurities they've had over the years. And that's fascinating to me because Ethan and Taylor did a good job discussing this on LSL. And it was like, he's not like openly, like, how is it different from the Scott Satterfield, South Carolina stuff? And that's what I think is going to be the next chapter in this kind of terrain and saga. Is it Josh Hurd's fault? Is it Jeff Brohm's fault? Or is his representation? And that's what's interesting to me.
He intimately knows the history. He intimately knows the feelings that Louisville fans have had. He's also been, unfortunately, on the other end of being kicked out the door by, Tom Jurich and everything like that too. So there is a little bit of that. There's part of that makes me wonder, when you think about relationships, you think about issues there, like, you've had, I don't know if anybody's ever had like a relationship that ended poorly. She broke your heart or something like that, broke up with you, but then later down the road, maybe you got back together, and maybe she tried to come back. But then no matter what, there's still kind of that issue. Like, I don't feel like I can ever fully commit to this person again, because A, what if they just go out and do the exact same thing again? Or B, in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe I'm gonna be the one to do it this time. Maybe I'm gonna be the one that's gonna one up you and be like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why Sheila is the name that I went for. That's not exactly the most attractive name.
Sounds attractive.
Yeah, Sheila down the road here wants me instead. And I couldn't have had her before, but now I can. And that's kind of like what it is with Louisville. And like with him, being courted by, you talk about Penn State, you talk about who is, outside of all the issues they've had or whatever, is, it is a good program. It's a great program, even though they're calling them pedophile you. At the same time, you have, but then you have Michigan, which is one of those teams, which is the same way we looked at, Penn State's like the Tennessee. Like when we looked at Tennessee coming at for Charlie Strong, now we've got the Texans.
We know with LSU and Auburn. I mean, it addresses all of the complexes and insecurities Louisville fans have. I know Pat Forty's done a piece on it. I know The Athletic did a piece on it when, like, the Scott Satterfield component of, meeting with South Carolina. It's just always been there. And also, so that's one facet of it. The other facet of it is the NIL resources that is being leaked out and being put out there by multiple representation of, people that would be in the know. And I think, and me, I'm not sources guy, Soforo. I think you know me well enough for this, but enough people that would be in the know have come to me and said, basically, they're making headway in the right direction to assure some of his things. So then it becomes my next step of like, okay, if you need an extra $2 million to feel better in the NIL, like, what's the next step in how much more money? Because the next year it's only going to go up. I mean, this is Trump's America, inflation, this ain't Biden. But it's funny because you have all these individuals that, in my opinion, like, you can't keep going back to the same well over and over again. So, and if you feel like it's kind of been tapped out here and there's an endless supply at a place like Michigan or Notre Dame to where you can get the things that you get, because look, I mean, if you go on the other side of from the BROHM standpoint, you go 5-7, you saw what happened after the Cal and Virginia games. I know that would be turned up to a different, if you go 5-7 here, like, there people are going to be calling for your head. So he wants some assurances from the university with that. Also, real quick, I just saw this for when we're recording. Big Dog is replying to people on Twitter. Oh,
he's got the Twitter fingers going.
He's 7 minutes ago. He's replying to somebody called Moose 3_313.
Oh, not Moose Knuckle.
No.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Maybe some reindeer knuckles out there this time of year. If Michigan hires Brohm, they're not serious about the future of the Michigan football program. Big Dog quote tweets them saying, which, I mean, this is the inside baseball I love. They the folks over at U of L gotta be like, Big Dog, come on, man. Like, what are we doing? It's Christmas Eve. Anyways, Big Dog replies, I'm not saying I'm doing this because he wants the job. I'm responding to you because you have no clue. At Jeff Brohm is one of the top 10 coaches in college football.
Big Dog wants to go to Michigan. He wants to get in those waters.
He wants to get that Jumpman gear. He wants to, like, oh, where's Sharon Moore? It's like, then somebody responded, yo, Big Dog letting loose. So must be a Ruby's night for your boy out there on the back of the PGA.
Do you think he's drinking every time that he like responds to stuff, or do you think that's just who he is? Like,
I think that's who he is.
Because there's moments, I think
he's listening to some like Tom Seeger or something. He's listening to the best of, and he's got it. Whenever his headset's not plugged in, he's got some like Leonard Skinner Simple Man going on, and he's just vibing. He's just vibing. But
he goes quiet for so long, and then all of a sudden he starts popping off. And what's it, 10 o'clock? I don't know when he posted it, but it's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night before right before Christmas Eve. It seems like your boy might be having some drinks. That's my guess.
He's having a good time. Yeah, it could. Well, he get on that PJ back from Boca Raton. I saw the Howard Schnellenberger, trophy was buckled in on that. So yeah, man. Look, I mean, I think and I'm seeing a longer, some of the longer clips of Jeff Brohm being linked to the other job. It's just fascinating to me with like he didn't sound like somebody with Jody, which I know you had your thoughts about some of the questioning there, but even in the press conference podium, that he didn't sound like somebody who was. I think it's a negotiation tactic personally. Yeah. But the seesaw effect of when it was announced that they were going to work toward an extension, that timeline's interesting to me because is it something as simple as Josh Hurd saying, hey, like we'll get with you at the end of the season after the holidays and talk about it, but also is it side of Josh Hurd not reading the room? It's like, hey, these other programs are coming after you. Or does Josh Hurd's kind of like, hey, we got this report out there for Penn State. He says he's happy. He wants to be here. I'm taking him at his word. So like, but there's enough people that would be in the know that said there was definitely some tentacles and some legs to this, that's what's interesting to me. If like that relationship between Hurd and Brohm and his representation.
Can both things be true? Where like they're working toward this. He wants to stay here. We know that Jeff Brohm wants to be here. We know Jeff Brohm also wants to have all the abilities to win a national title. And like that's one of the things that I wonder when you listen to this and you also hear that Michigan's coming after him. I think anybody, when you see a job of that magnitude, if you're serious about coaching, as much as you love the city of Louisville and being at Louisville and the university,
you owe it to yourself professionally. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's very few opportunities. It's like, I don't know what the radio equivalent or like what you and I could say, what would be, I don't know. The
ESPN
big stick.
Los Angeles, Chicago. Yeah. The bigger markets are Bristol for sure.
Yeah, like one of them calls you up and says, "Hey, Phil, you want to come do this?" That kind of thing. You'd be stupid not to listen. It'd be like especially when you talk about generational wealth, talking about your family being taken care of, talking about it's fine. You get some money here, you can do whatever you can for yourself. And even though in the circumstance, it doesn't seem that Jeff Brohm's worried about himself really that much at all. Yes, he's making a good payday, but he really just wants to be able to compete and win. And I do think there are parts of him where there are three like little facets that I'm thinking of in my mind, and I hit the mic, of course I did. but where there's the Jeff Brohm that wants to compete at the highest level and win a national title for himself, right? There's the Jeff Brohm that also probably, I'd imagine, the emotional connection with Howard Schnellenberger, with being able to fulfill his dream has to at least be a part of it. You have to imagine the idea of doing that has to motivate him to another level as well. And then there is just the truth of you can go to Michigan, you can win it all there, and you can get it done. I wonder, especially we talk about early on this season, where after Miami, we're talking about go ahead, get the extension done like that week. We expected it to get done, and it just keeps getting more and more and more drug out.
Well, and also not to interrupt because I want you to like get back to that, but like, if you can't read the terrain and the sense of urgency, that's something that like, see, because I'm always conflicted too. And I know there's a lot of like Tom Jurich loyalists out there. So whenever some of the folks come to me, I'm like, you got an agenda. Like, because can anybody not do the job that is not Tom Jurich? And when I asked him that, it's like, well, Tom, and I was like, well, wasn't Josh Hurd a disciple? But then enough people have come and brought it up to me that have no connections where it's like, yeah, I'm hearing it's just, calls maybe not being returned. And it's like, but is that just something as simple as like, hey, we said we'll talk about it after the season. So I don't want to, throw too much, shade that way, but it's also like the sense of urgency of like, the Marcus Freeman rumors with Notre Dame. And then now what's happened and transpired at Michigan. But again, in the same breath, the Penn State news came out no less than, 10, 12 days ago that he's like, I'm good here. We're working toward it. So it just
feels like if there's one off season that it could happen, it's this off season. It is this coaching carousel, because how many times are you going to have this many big jobs potentially opening up in one moment? And then that is where I worry though, because I'm sorry, I have so many different spots in my mind that I go to, different little threads and stuff I've been connecting all day, where it's like everything that encompasses this, and I don't want to say coaching search, but this coaching situation can go back 2 decades as well. We can talk about the Tom Jurich stuff. We can talk about everything about how he would keep it. We talk about how Tom Jurich and people were flaunting how much money we have, how much money we pay. And at least we're talking about that. And then here we are now, we're talking about we can only pay NIL, but then you talk about everything that happened between now and then with Tom Jurich being gone. And also, yes, Tom Jurich would not have Jeff Brohm at the University of Louisville. Like this wouldn't even be a problem because Jeff Brohm wouldn't be here.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Because they clashed massively over being the scapegoat for Crapthorpe. So,
right.
Yeah,
But
go ahead. No. Go ahead, please.
But I guess my point was also at the same time, we talk about all the financial missteps that this university has made in the last, 10 years or so. When you talk about all the bad coaching hires, all the buyouts we've been having to pay left and right and all that. And I understand like their money might be in different spots for different programs and different, football here, basketball there. I don't know exactly how the pot works, but then we also talk about some relationships, and this is where it gets a little bit dicey, but I'm just like, we talk about like the situation. Anna brought it up the other day on After Dark with me. If you want, I'll go ahead and throw this little advertisement if you want to watch. It's 9 p.m. After Dark. There's my beautiful face right there. 9 p.m. on Sundays on ESPN Louisville Plus. But she brought up about, the relationship with like Papa John's. And like how quickly we burnt those bridges and how quickly we were because, and I understand it's a touchy situation, things that you can't say, things that you can't do. I get it. But at the same time, to completely, remove that relationship with a company over a person. And then you saw they righted the ship by cutting ties with him. He's gone. It's, whatever. And now you don't have some of that kind of extra income that could be flowing in as well. And I'm just looking at, there's different spots like that where you've lost so much money over the years that maybe it could help in situations like this.
No, you're 100% right because it was the perfect storm. Think about it. I know there was that like new tax write-off. I don't remember if it was like when Trump was coming, you couldn't write off like getting a suite anymore in your tickets and people's habits change. And I know people get tired of hearing that with like the COVID. Put that on top of what transpired in basketball, what happened with the Bobby year and the buyouts, Bobby 2.0. There's a bunch of things in the crock pot. And quite frankly, like these older guys, you and I are similar in age brackets. Like we're not throwing around money like some of the people are that are, 10 to 50. And I don't know many people that are doing it. So to try to find those individuals, it's few and far between. And that's why I always go back to, I don't know how many there are here as people kind of tend to point to John Schneider and kind of going back to that. Well, and that's another facet of the Josh Hurd fundraising component. Mm-hmm. Like I know people say, well, Tom was great at that. Well, I think there's other people in place now that can help Josh Hurd out with the fundraising component. Yeah. I always go back to this too. There's multiple people and entities that represent the university that whether it be through the Cardinal Athletic Fund, whether it be through Learfield, whether it be through the 502 Circle, whether it be through the university itself, like there just needs, and I think Tennessee was talking about this when they were like raising their tickets like 10%. They just literally said, hey, we're going to build this into the season tickets and the NIL is going to go there. I think that's something that like across the board, and that's a bigger, broader discussion that we need to talk about. Just that needs to be the thing, because if I'm getting hit up by 5, different entities that are all, in my perception, that they're not in the minutia of the day to day, it's like, I'm not trying to cut you a, $50,000 check, you a $75,000 check. I was like, hey, here's $5 million. You all figure out where it goes. And I think that's kind of what this new role, the GM and the 502 Circle, trying to, essentially having a salary cap there for that. But no, I think you're spot on with how do you mend those relationships? It's my understanding, and I heard Ethan say this too, and I've heard this from some people that would be know that like Dr. Mark Lynn, VisionWorks guy, a Jurich guy, he flew on the team plane, I think the Virginia Tech game, so they're kind of mending the fences on there, and maybe he would help some of the assurances that the BROHM has to kind of meet the goal of what he wants to be competitive. So I think that's a step in the right direction, and some of these things we're just not going to know too. Like, it's just until it just pops up. I don't think they're going to show. So
there's going to be a random donation made or something like that. Do we need the Tom Jurich statue? Does it need to be put up before the rest of them come back? Is that what it's going to take.
I always go back to this. It's like all the money they spent on billboards. You think they could have, that they ain't cheap, or that prime real estate they have. They could have given us some of those to the help offset some of these things they have. So, yeah, I mean, so as of now, I mean, I think my person, I mean, you tell me like where we are at, 10:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night of Christmas Eve. I think it's a negotiation tactic. Personally, I think, for the guy that goes on Diener's show and cries and does like, I'm not cut like that. And, with his parents, but the one that's multiple people have told me the biggest kept secret is like, watch out if something happens with that Notre Dame job. That's one to keep an eye on. So I think you'll hear something here in the coming weeks, I would hope. And then if not, then that's where it's going to turn to a temperature that I didn't think we could get to after Kenny Payne with the administration and Josh Hurd.
Well, and one of the things, I mean, and I'm going to the other side of this now, where Michigan, I saw a lot of people around them reporting that they're planning to announce or have a coach installed by like either this weekend or by something like right around
New Year's is next week. So I mean, it's going to be soon.
So we will have our answer quickly. I think I do agree with you that the entire time, I mean, I think it's kind of been like a known negotiation tactic, if that makes sense. But it's also, I wonder how firm Jeff Brohm is in this. And what I mean is it's a negotiation tactic, but I also have Michigan knocking at my door. And if it's a situation where I'm going to keep going out there, Andy brought up the idea, and I've been pretty receptive to the idea that what if this entire time Jeff Brohm's been, he's been overachieving with what he's had instead of being underachieving and losing the Brohm blunder. We talk about that all the time. What if instead he's been overachieving early on in the season and it's just not sustainable, and that's why you had the fall off at the end of the season? That's something to kind of consider in this situation.
Well, no, I think that's another facet of it. Like, you listen to me and Kern on Sundays when we go battle back and forth about, the access to the college football playoff. And I think you saw firsthand, and I had to eat some crow, like there should be some access. Like, okay, it's great that, one group of 5 team got in. Maybe we don't need both JMU and Tulane, like maybe just one. And I think you saw some jarring differences in just like the offensive and defensive lines with these, like they were getting manhandled. And that's something that I think people tend to point to with like the athleticism and size of some of these guys that they have out there. They just can't compete with the big boys. And I hate that kind of country club component of access of potentially getting in there. But it's also one of those things, the seesaw of power is also something that is interesting to me too in this negotiation tactic. Miami, think about it. After the Miami game, college game day, you're the it story of the sport. It's your collision course with the college football playoff. Then you had Cal, you had Virginia, you had some of these games in which it didn't feel right. And then it kind of swung down and all the momentum was out of there. And then the power swung back to the university. And I mean, Andy had the takes. It's like, hey, I mean, do you got to extend them right now? But then when some of these jobs coming over, want and I mean, they listen to sports talk, they know, and some of them, I mean, gosh, they did a media tour when they were the head coach at WKU and Purdue. That's not normal. WKU a little bit more normal, but the Purdue coach doing a tour 4 hours away, that's not normal because they had the connection here. And I think at the end of the day, when the Josh Hurd and the administration, they want to be fiscally responsible. That's also perceived as like what you pointed out with all the questionable hires that they had. It's perceived as that you're not serious. And that's what's also concerning from the Louisville fan base. It's like, can you do both? And that's where I think a lot of people are.
We quickly went from, I think, to my issue is, especially with the situation of it's a bargaining tactic. It's all these kind of things around this. And one of the things that I really worry about, though, is we talk about Louisville's place NIL wise. And we talk about how all these schools, what are we, like 13th or 14th or something like that in the league? Like, it's pretty low. Like, we're in the bottom third, right? Or somewhere around there. And that's
not high. No.
And that's one of the biggest worries that I have, biggest concerns I have, because if it's just not possible, that's kind of where this leads me is maybe we're recontextualizing what Louisville football is and what Louisville football is capable of. If it's just not possible to find these funds, to not, have donors or somebody digging in the couch cushions to find a few extra $1 million out there, it really worries me, especially in the end. If Jeff Brohm were to leave the University of Louisville for Michigan, and I put this out on Twitter, and I always sound kind of heavy-handed when I tweet it out there, but it is
you never
right now. But it is true to what I believe. I think seeing Jeff Brohm, who pride, like I said on the Dieter show, came here, for him to leave after 3 years, after spending 6 years in Purdue, and if that were to happen, that would be, to me, it is a total indictment on your football program, and also makes me worry about what the long-term potential success of Louisville football could ever be again.
And and that's the one that, obviously it's the biggest kept secret. Like his family, they're known as the first family of football here. I think that's what the bargaining and negotiation chip that's in the favor of Josh Hurd and the administration is what you just said right there, of like, they know what this place means to them. But it's also one of those things, don't pat me here. Pat me in my wallet and just make sure and it's not even necessarily his wallet. It's more so the NIL cabinet that he wants to be.
Your front wallet or your back wallet?
Yeah, depending on it. Okay.
I wasn't sure where you were patting there.
Well, I was going to say that's some would say that's my coin purse, but the Lockwood McClain coin purse. But nonetheless, look, I think ultimately it's a negotiation tactic that I know a lot of people are concerned about, but enough people now think like they're doing enough things to make it. Now, if they don't, that's a broader discussion that I know you will be very opinionated about, as will I, because it felt like it addressed all the insecurities that so many people had.
Yeah, you all got very lucky. I've been out of town the last couple of days, so there have been a lot of fear-mongering videos that would have been put out about Jeff Brohm in Michigan. But it is funny, though, because this entire time, I think we all get a little bit too comfortable with Jeff Brohm. We get too comfortable thinking that he won't go, that he was going to retire here. He's done. We never have to worry about this issue again. I think you need to let yourself remember what we've been through, and also remember that's how coaches think. Remember Rick Pitino, after one successful year of making the Final Four at Louisville, said, all right, well, where do I go now? Where do I move on? That's just how coaches operate.
They got Sacramento Kings. You got the Cleveland Cavaliers. You got Providence. He's considering, all those. Yeah, you're spot on. And you know what? Your worth is only as, because it could flip on you in a moment. I don't think no disrespect to Lawrence or anybody else that's calling in that's getting frustrated on the post-game show. That's not going to make these guys make the decision, but they heard some of the angst after the losses. That's amplified when you go there. But it's also amplified your money. It's also amplified. You can hop on a PJ and just get back and see your parents if needed and deal with the scrutiny and everything that comes with being the Michigan job or the Notre Dame job. So I think it's some perspective for Louisville fans to kind of look in the mirror and just be like, okay, what Danny McDonald said. He's like, are you interested? Are you committed? And I think that's kind of the same thing that Jeff Brohm is going to be looking at here in the coming years. And if he is going to be here in the coming months to kind of pony up on the fundraising side.
Well, one of the other things I said too, I've said this over the entire season, maybe if I go back a year or two, I probably had a little bit more angst and a little bit more anger, especially just, with some of the unfortunate play. But I think earlier this year, and maybe, really not even till the end there, even at the end, I don't know. I guess it didn't let it affect me as much, but I remember watching the JMU game and just thinking they didn't look great. I didn't think JMU was going to be a team that would make the playoff, really. I thought they were probably going to have another loss or two under their belt just because they didn't look that good. I think they figured out their quarterback situation after the Louisville game. But I remember walking away from that game being like, the one great thing about Jeff Brohm is what you have with him. This is not, I don't feel like we're on at that time, especially, I don't feel like we're on a tight schedule, a tight timeline where everybody else, Petrino, Charlie Strong, Petrino 2.0, I always felt like you have to win and you have to do it within 2 to 3 years, because once that time frame is done, it's over. He's going somewhere else. With Jeff Brohm, I can give him more time, which is also something that I hope that, and I would imagine is in strong consideration if I'm Jeff Brohm, is you have a guaranteed this amount of money for as long as you probably want, because while people will yell and scream about Ron English and the defense, even though this year he earned his paycheck twice over, I felt like. But in those circumstances, people will give you a lot more grace than you ever will at a place like Michigan, at Texas, or Ohio State, or any of those kind of places.
Did you see the Dan Dockich tweet from earlier circulating?
I did not. This is
okay. You've been traveling. Okay, so Dan Dockich, first guest on the Sunday Morning Hangover with Nick Curran and then Nick Evans before I stabbed him in the back and took his spot there. Jeff Brohm has the America's easiest Power 5 job. Fans don't truly care. There's no meaningful media, either old and lazy or truly inconsequential. SC in-state rival stinks. He's in a league that no longer has dominant teams nationally, but opportunity to come in and demand years and money beyond your normal, as he must clean up America's most corrupt program, may be too tempting. That coming down from Dan Dockich. That right there is what you call a tease in sports talk radio.
That is the Trump of sports radio. Like, I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Trumps in sports radio, but this one, that read like that. That was like the backhanded compliments everywhere you go. The shots at, I wish he would have taken, another shot like he did in 2018. That was my favorite day. That day in 2018, I was under surveillance and I just posted up and I was good. I was dying laughing.
I think that's the day I figured out how to screen record. And I was like, I just go back and I was like, oh boy, this is a giant step for mankind right here. So that was well worth it. Well, I mean, I'll leave it with this. And I mean, I know we got to wrap it up here soon, but I think with the Jeff Brohms, I think it's a negotiation tactic. I would expect something, hopefully within the next, I don't know, over the weekend or something, or is it one of those like Mark Stoops, just like after they lost to Vandy, he got an extension that just kind of flew under the radar that nobody knows about. Like, is this just, and that's the Tom Jurich versus Josh Hurd component where people have to kind of calibrate their minds differently, that it's like, okay, do you got to put out a massive press release after every time? Do you got to come out and make an announcement that you're not interested in the job? But there's enough smoke to this that I think the bright people are, kind of like, there's some stuff that's not being handled great. So bowl game's over. Christmas Eve's tomorrow. Christmas Day, 2 days. I mean, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, potentially, especially if, you'll know one way or another, because, Michigan wants to announce something next week. And I wonder how long this lingers.
If Michigan's going to announce by next week, I feel like we have to know that Jeff Brohm is not going to be the guy, or will be the guy by Friday. Like, because I feel like they have to get that out there, because they're going to have to move on to their next guy, and we can start that whole cycle of talking about, is it going to be so and so, or whoever it's going to be? Is it going to be Biff? Is Biff going to get the job in the end? I don't know.
That guy's married to football. He eats, sleeps, and in my power rankings, if this guy's married to the game of football, he's up there. He's got a football face.
He just wants to see success at Michigan before he goes. What do you say? Before he goes off to smoke cigarettes and die, or whatever, smoke himself to death. That's what he said.
Cubans, right?
Yeah. I love this guy. Michigan needs to promote him. I don't completely. I'm not 100% on where I feel good, but I feel like it's been said the entire time that it was a tactic. But just because it was a tactic to start does not mean that it has to be a tactic to end. And he could still end up at Michigan. I feel like he's going to be in Louisville still. I feel like Mark Blankenbaker would say this. His story isn't over for as the head coach of the University of Louisville. He's got to finish that story.
I think, look, I mean, I don't think this is going to be the last one, probably. Like, I mean, I think like his agent's a local guy. I think people know him enough, but he's going to know his worth and make sure there's he's got to do his job and field some of these questions are out there. And you got to put a little, dangle a little something out there to be like, he may be interested.
But in the end, this time, because last time, to me, it wasn't good enough last time. This time, there has to be a sign on the dotted line. An extension has to be announced to me at this point. Like, it just has to. Either, you announce whatever, you can get whatever he wants as long as the NIL is done or whatever. I don't care. I know there's talk about potentially that he wants that buyout removed. That's potentially something he wants. So that way, if he wants to go next time, he's right out the door and has no problems. That being said, we'll see. But I think you have to have some kind of extension. Just the announcement of I'm not looking to go anywhere, I don't think will suffice this time around.
And that's where I think the administration and the athletic department is going to see kind of their side of negotiation tactics of how much, like, Tom George was notorious for kind of putting his iron fist down and basically it's like, it's going to be this way. And then, it didn't always work out. Obviously, Charlie Strong walked, Bobby 1.0 walked. He hired Cragthorpe. But yeah, I mean, this is one where it's, Josh has a good reputation for kind of being even keeled on a lot of ways, but you also have to protect the university and not have some crazy buyouts. But you also, if, I know a lot of people weren't happy after the Georgia, just kind of letting them walk and not getting the money that was from there because it's, what good would it do? That's not going to fly on this. You're going to have to kind of push back and kind of hold some people's feet to the fire to where you can appease the fans, but then also make it to where they're going to feel like, oh, you're getting something in return. If the big boys are going to come, like, we want to be compensated when we're hearing about this gap, and especially like an NIL resources that could help provide some and offset some of those things.
Yeah, and it does make you look kind of weak in those circumstances. Like when you don't ask for money there, I kind of understood it where I was like, maybe, especially if you're going out there and you want SEC teams to come schedule you, that you're not gonna be like, oh, I'm money whipping everybody who says that they need to get out. Like, you want to look kind of good, but at the same time, just letting them walk in for a game that I feel like we know is not going to happen. Like, there's no chance that game happens at this point.
I just laugh when they send a press release out. I laugh when they send a press release out. It's like, we're going to play this team in 2032. It's like, okay, just spare me. We'll cross that bridge when it's printed on a poster that I can get for free at Kroger.
Exactly. So, I mean, we're going to keep everybody covered every step of the way, as ESPN Louisville always does. If he leaves, I'm guessing there's going to be probably a lot of programming. I'm guessing it's going to be a 12-hour, 24-hour, some kind of program.
When I left the studio earlier, James Black was like, hey, he's like, we're not doing shows, Christmas Eve. He's like, unless something happens, he's like, I'll be prepared to be here. I was like, if Jeff Brohm really does that, I would know the folks. I mean, Blanket Baker's already ready to, he's ready. He's like, I could be 4 or 5 bourbons in. It's like, I could be firing off takes. I'm sorry for whispering. I'm hearing. No. Also going around. So if I sound like I'm in a closet, that's why.
That's my favorite part of this entire thing. Has been me screaming into the mic and then you just like, yeah, I know that's what we're doing over here.
Is that loud? I don't know if I feel like I'm being like a normal voice, but it's just maybe it's this mic cover. I don't know. I need to turn up my levels on this. But yeah, man. We'll have you covered every step of the way. Extended coverage, absolutely. I'm not going to promise 12 hours on Christmas Day, but nonetheless, we can do little cutaways like this. But James Black is prepared to have people connect remotely. We got you covered every step of the way.
And if I can some way sneak in an ESPN Louisville Plus stream, I'll do it. We'll see if I can get somebody on board. Though I know it's going to be conflicted with radio for that one. But
hey, James was saying, he's like, hey, if people can't get on there, he's like, I'll take Soforo live from YouTube.
Me giving takes about calling Jeff Brohm a bum ass. That's what they want. That's what they need on 93.9 The Ville. My Brohm. We need that my debut on 93.9 The Ville, just angry about Jeff Brohm. It'd be perfect.
It would. Anyway. We'll Soforo have a great Christmas with the kiddos. Hopefully the wrapping goes well. And yes, hopefully I didn't just wake everyone up with that.
Thank you so much for same to you and your family. Everybody out there, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Happy that.
Finished last night. Thanks for noticing.
Exactly. You do me a favor, smash that freaking like button and leave a comment down in the comment section. How do you feel about the Jeff Brohm situation? You worried about him? You feel confident about Jeff Brohm? Say it, let us know. And also make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that bell icon to stay notified for all of our latest videos. You can follow me at Justin Soforo on Twitter, him at Phil_Baker on Twitter as well. And of course, ESPN 680 and 93.9 The Ville on all of the other social media platforms. We'll see you guys next time. Go Cards.